I Want to Jump Like Dee Dee, with me, Giles Sibbald, is the music podcast that does music a bit differently. I'm talking to some incredible musicians, DJs and producers about how they use an experimental mindset to fuel their own creativity, pursue new challenges, overcome fears, bounce back from mistakes. I always ask for a bit of self-indulgence at the start of these podcasts, and it's usually a bit of rope to hang myself with. But I remember the first time that I heard Starcrawler's debut album around sort of 5 years ago, and I was like, well, this is really, really good. There's a good dose of sort of Hollywood underbelly, a bit of glam, a bit of punk rock horror. And this is where you need to indulge me, a bit of No Place for Old Men, and this sort of huge dose of heart. And Starcrawler were just like, kind of feeding me all this kind of charisma, swagger, aggression, melody, pretty much like a parent feeds their baby this sort of massive, gigantic chocolate pudding. Well, maybe not all parents. They've got a new album coming out called She Said on 16th of September, and it's an absolute monster. It's musically sort of broader in scope, which is much better for it in my opinion, but it's definitely hands down Starcrawler. It's really thrilling, so you should definitely get your hands on it. So anyway, that's all. Arrow, Wilde and Henri, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for coming on and having a chat to us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, and I even did that. I'm really proud of myself because I even did that intro without even mentioning Pet Sematary, because the Ramones are they were the band that kind of like changed my life. So I'm really chuffed with myself that I didn't even mention that. I didn't bang on about it again, but what an amazing song.
Yeah. As a kid, the Ramones were definitely my favorite band, and Johnny Ramone made me want to play guitar. So
yeah, incredible. I mean, I bought Reddy's book Commando. Yeah. Which is it's kind of like an interesting read, isn't it? When you're sort of like a massive fan of the Ramones, and then like Johnny wasn't an easy person to kind of get into, but as a guitarist, and the way that he broke ground, I mean, just incredible, right?
Yeah, I really liked it. It's just crazy, all the different personalities in that band that made it so special. Everybody was such an opposite of every other person, but it really made something.
Totally. It's kind of like, it's interesting, isn't it? From a sort of mindset point of view, how people can kind of come with so, sort of such different sort of personalities, and kind of, obviously, we all come from different backgrounds and stuff, and yet, you kind of make it work when, looking at a band like the Ramones against all odds, like who the fuck would have thought that they would have lasted?
I know. Yeah. It's crazy they lasted as long as they did, too.
I know.
Absolutely, yeah. So, you've obviously just played All Point Season. I said you've got the new sort of record coming out, and just sort of like over the past sort of 5 years. I mean, what's been the most sort of satisfying thing that's sort of happened to you over the life of the band? I don't know if that's an easy one to answer, or if I should just move on.
No, I mean, there's been a lot of great stuff. For me personally, getting to open for Jack White was a big thing. I grew up, idolizing, the White Stripes and the record, and just the whole. I was like a Vault member, which is like this record subscription club as a kid.
Yeah.
So able to like right before COVID, we recorded our set there live to acetate, like the old Sun records, like cut straight into the lacquer. And then getting to open for him was just super cool.
Yeah.
Even Nick Cave last night, just one of the best performers, I think, live, and getting to be on the same bill.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
He's I saw Nick Cave. It was a long time ago, maybe about 2004 or something like that. It's the only time that I've seen him. He wasn't with the Bad Seeds. He was just sort of playing as Nick Cave. It was over at a festival in Spain, and it was a huge stage, just like so wide, and I've never seen anybody hold a stage like that. It's just incredible.
I know. Yeah, he's an amazing.
He has the audience in his hands the whole time.
Amazing performer.
Yeah.
And it's such a, the dynamic of the set too. It's like one song could be super quiet. It's just him whispering, and then everything, it sounds like a crazy, like
Yeah.
or something like super intense and in your face.
Mm. I mean, do you take you know, kind of like sort of influences, or you know, you sort of watching, you know, these sort of persons that, you know, like Jack White, for example, and you know, sort of absorbing what they're doing and
Yeah.
sort of using some of that.
I feel like every show I've ever seen, I've done that. You know, you just absorb, you take from it what you can, and you put your own
Mm,
personality into it. But just seeing
mm,
a bunch of bands, how different bands interact with the audience is really inspiring.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we maybe sort of, you know, going back to um you know, sort of growing up, I'm always interested in, you know, real. I'm sure you talked about this before, but I'm just thinking of real sort of formative influences that, you know, things that kind of happened that you remember that really, um, you know, kind of like put you on not necessarily put you on the road to sort of music, but really, you know, kind of like influenced your kind of mindset and and who you are today.
Um, the the Runaways were a big one for me.
Mm,
That I mean, I already kind of when I had found them, I mean, I knew
mm.
who they were, but I knew Cherry Bomb and you know,
Yeah, yeah,
oh, and I knew it. I had already wanted to be in a band at that point, but something about like watching their old videos, and I
mm,
got super into a lot of their songs,
yeah,
and something about them made me want to be in a band so bad, and just also kind
mm,
of their story really makes you realize that if you really set your mind to it, like anyone can
yeah,
in a band, you know, like because half of the girls in that band were already like skilled musicians, and the other half were kind of just picking it up, or like
yeah,
they hadn't even sung at all
mm,
for that. And Joan Jett had just kind of knew a couple chords, but something about
yeah,
the mixture of, you know, whereas Lita Ford was like an amazing like guitar player, but something about like the mixture of like those elements like really
mm.
me for I don't know how to explain really, I guess
Yeah.
it just like kind of really sparked that fire.
We
It's fun. Yeah, sorry, Henry. Yeah, go.
we also came up in a super amazing age where we had YouTube.
Yeah.
So when I
Yeah,
was,
Yeah.
you know, at a fundamental age of like 6 or 7, I was just looking up like Led Zeppelin
yeah,
1977 or whatever,
yeah,
and like Clash live in London at the,
yeah,
you know, Rainbow or something, and you'd see these amazing shows, and it was the energy of the whole
mm,
room. And it's like I want to feel that feeling, whether it was
yeah,
be in that room or part of the audience or on stage, but you just
Yeah.
want to
mm,
feel it. Also, like I feel like a lot of musicians and artists in general growing up does not you get kind of iced out into this spot where you're kind of on your own for a bit till you find people that are into the same thing as you.
yeah,
When you see videos like that of a bunch of people listening to, you know, the same music you're into, or
mm,
you know, the same kind of movies, or it really spans into all different sections of creative forms, but it makes you feel like you're one of many, you know, and that you want
yeah.
to.
I remember like when I was a kid, and I sort of obviously sort of grew up pre that era, and when it's you know, you have to go and kind of search things out, and I remember, you know, exactly there was a like my kind of dad was classically trained, and you know, I played the cello to, you know, I kind of did all my grades and stuff like that, but then I was playing sort of classical, but then I had this like love of punk rock music. I don't know where it, well, in fact, it was the first time I heard Judy is a Punk by the Ramones. That was kind of it. So
Yeah.
from what I wanted to listen to, there was that going on, and then there was on the other side, I was playing this, and I just couldn't reconcile the two. Do you know what I mean? It was just like this like weird thing. I had to go off and play this cello, and then I was just like wanting to, you know, get my ears pummeled at sort of loud gigs, you know. It was a weird sort, and it was the cello obviously that kind of lost out, you know. And yeah,
Yeah,
you had to go kind of searching things, you know, and just you know, find out, which was, it was a different way of doing it, but it was just interesting, you know. It's just like this kind of curiosity.
yeah, you find out what feels best to you. I mean, I played tuba in classical music in school too. It's
Mm,
we'd go to rehearsal after that and play
Yeah.
our music. But I also feel like we listen to like Gwen Stefani in the band, Sweet Escape,
Yeah.
and then we'll listen to like the Ramones or the Cramps or
Yeah.
something. But I feel like we're into country music too, like all different types of music. I feel like
Yeah.
you're not like bound to one certain thing. I feel like I go through months where I'm super into this and I'm super into this, and then
Yeah. I definitely feel the same. That's something that's changed for me as well over the years, where I've gone from like years ago, and I think I was pretty narrow-minded in what I was listening to, and maybe it's just like the availability and how you find music that sort of opens your eyes and ears to different things.
I feel like also when you first, especially with rock or punk or anything like that, when you first kind of get into it, you kind of like make up in your head that there's all these rules. You're like, I can't like that band. If I like this band, or if I like this, then I'm not actually real. I don't know. But then
you're right.
Because like I definitely used to be like that, where I was very almost like jaded, and then I like realized kind of how lame that is. It doesn't make people want to listen to rock if you're like, you don't know that song, idiot. Nobody like that. If someone said that to me, and I would be like, I'm never listening to rock and roll. Like if I was on the other hand of that, like how's that gonna make me like this song that you're claiming is the best song ever? Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I feel like especially it used to be different too, like pre-internet again, if you were like one thing, you couldn't like the other. That's just kind of how it used to be. But now I feel like that's kind of all bullshit. And you can like obviously the main type of music that I like is rock and roll, but that doesn't stop me from listening to country or fucking Cardi B. I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
I think it's more badass to be into, I don't know, all sorts of things.
Well, do you know, I would like saying that I was narrow-minded. I did have my little, kind of boundaries, and they did sort of push. But I remember when I was at school, and that you kind of like write your favorite band names on your bag and stuff like that. And I remember being down at the sports ground, and my bag, like everybody used to just sort of put their bags down, and mine had my kind of graffiti on. And I saw that like one of the kids who was way bigger than me. He was a big old hard nut, and he sort of picked up this bag, and he was just like, "What the fuck is this?" And I was just like, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm dead. I'm just dead." You're right. I think the other thing like is which I guess kind of leads on from it is around this kind of pigeonholing and sort of genres, and I feel now that it's like pretty much as it should be pretty much redundant. Well, it should be redundant. We're moving away from that, but there's still people who like pigeonholing things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also goods and bads to this too, but I feel like we've come a long way from it with also just streaming. Like when we were kids, I'd go to like the record store and buy records and CDs and listen to the whole album. And I feel like kids that are getting into music now don't really do that as much. They have their favorites. They have, whatever the top song is of that artist on Spotify. And then, the record really goes away. And I kind of miss that. And like also with like when you go through certain phases, like both me and Arrow, coincidentally, were really into the Beatles as kids.
Yeah.
So I certain Beatles songs, bring me back to like sitting in the back seat of the car, and I feel like I'm like 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I feel like that through middle school, like Sex Pistols. Like whenever I hear Sex Pistols, I'm like, oh, I'm in like 5th grade again. And And that's a really cool thing too, that you could like your life could be a playlist or something. But.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, you sort of you can almost like think back to a particular sort of point in your life when a song meant, or you remember when you first heard that song, and you kind of like relate it back to that sort of period or place in your life, I guess.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Arrow, if I'm not mistaken, as a sort of kid, you were kind of quite introverted and shy. Yeah, which is the same as me as well. I kind of like had that. I really struggled with that. How did you like kind of like handle that over the through the years?
I always like wanted to not be shy. It wasn't something that I really. I mean, I don't know if anyone chooses to be shy. Not that I'm thinking about it, but some people I think are comfortable in it. Whereas I always wanted to be like the crazy kid that's like smearing stuff everywhere. Like I just like it was just not me. I think I was also raised around a lot of adults, but cool adults.
Yeah.
I'd want to like hang out with them as opposed to like other. I'd be like, you know, like my parents' friends and stuff. I had a really fun kind of upbringing, and I felt more comfortable around adults or just not kids. I don't know.
No, not kids. Yeah.
I had like one or two friends that I would hang out with, but other than that, I really didn't like other kids. I wanted to. It was like, you know what I mean? And so I don't know. For a long time, I mean, it was just always something that I like hoped one day I'd be able to like not be as shy. And then I think it like it started happening naturally as I found friends that I connected with more.
Yeah.
We're into the same, you know, kind of music. Like when I went into 6th grade, like I met a girl and she was the first person I knew that I had met who knew who like David Bowie was, you know what I mean? And so like once I kind of like, it's like, oh, I'm not like just a total freak, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
It kind of helped me, but it was honestly, I mean, it was just kind of like you know, probably wasn't, I mean, I still am shy in certain situations, so it's not like I'm completely extroverted, but
I feel like that sometimes. Like there's some kind of situations that I feel I'd rather not be in.
Yeah, or I just can't talk. I just don't know what to say. Like when I don't have anything to say, I can't spitball. I don't know.
No.
Like, which I guess is kind of a good thing, but sometimes I wish I could be those people that's just always talking and always has things that are funny to say. And you know,
you then start getting called a bullshitter.
I guess so. But
no, it's right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you, Henry? Sorry, Ara, go on.
Oh, I was just saying I'll always be a little awkward, that's for sure. But I think it was just kind of natural. You know, as I got older, I figured out how to. I don't know. Yeah.
I always remember that there was. I don't know if you've read it. It's a book on the sort of New York scene by Lizzie Goodman. I think it's called Meet Me in the Bathroom. It's like New York scene between sort of 98, 99 and 2004, something like that. So it covers like, you know, the Strokes, Interpol, LCD Sound System, all those kind of bands, and yeahs. And I remember like Karen O saying basically she felt like she had sort of two personas, like sort of, you know what she's like on stage. Then off stage, she was just like, you know, completely shy, you know, kind of like a mouse, just didn't want to talk to people. And she said, you know, but I needed the that persona sort of going on stage to, you know, kind of like evolve and grow as a person.
Yeah, that's true for sure for me too. Yeah. I think I've definitely, since we've been a band and I've been performing, it's definitely a different persona as well. But that has helped me, I think, with my social skills as well. So I've always loved performing. I didn't think I could. You know, I'd be in like school plays as a kid, but I'd always choose, like I would always audition for like a background role because I loved being on stage. But I was like, I don't know how to be a front. Like, no, you know. There's something I always loved about it, but yeah, I think, you know, performing, you know, and kind of doing that really helped my social skills as well. Obviously, I'm not the same. It's two different, personas, like she said.
Yeah. Do either of you ever get, you know, kind of like really sort of bad nerves or anxiety before going on stage, or there's like a big kind of thing coming up?
Yeah.
Obviously, you weren't nervous before this because it's like kind of that easy, you know.
I get nervous pretty much before every show. It varies on how nervous. But I used to get like it used to be every single show I'd feel like super sick the whole day until we played. Like it was just like that anxiety, like stomach ache and like nauseous. I wouldn't be able to eat until like after the show and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I don't really have that as much. It's definitely like gone down, and certain shows I rarely, sometimes I won't be nervous at all, but I usually, before I feel like anxiety, but then once I'm on, it goes away.
It goes away. Yeah.
I'm usually nervous, but I've been nervous a couple times, and those couple times have sucked.
Yeah. I remember like on a I think one of the first episodes I did of this podcast was talking to Jennifer Finch.
Oh yeah.
And I when she told me that kind of back in the day, and I think still now probably less so, but back in the day, she used to get like this incredible stage anxiety, like so much like she almost couldn't get on the stage. And she went to she told me she went to a therapist to kind of like address this, and you would, it's funny, you wouldn't think, this the thing, isn't it, that when you're in the audience or you're watching, you don't think that you see this like complete badass on stage, like really sort of performing her heart out, but there's this terrible stuff going on inside.
Yeah. I think it also helps, depending on the show, but being able to get into that mindset of almost like turning into like the other persona, like almost superhero like. It helps. Yeah. Because once you separate yourself, I feel like it helps with nerves.
Yeah. But what sort of role do you think that LA, as in your kind of like physical environment, has played, in kind of developing you and sort of either helping you with your creativity or becoming who you are?
I mean, a really interesting thing that I didn't really think about till recently was always being in the car. That's or you're driving places.
Yeah.
Constantly, because of that, listening to the radio or CDs. And as a kid, like there was a soundtrack and there was a bunch of things going on when you looked out the window. And there was a bunch of different stuff, and you were able to see a bunch of shows too. Doesn't really happen everywhere. And so many people around my parents were doing so many different, jobs, and so there was a lot of stuff to see and experience.
Yeah.
I do have to say that growing up in LA, you listen to so much, or at least, I mean, I think everyone, I could only imagine, I don't know who rides in a car just in silence, psychotic, but like you listen to so much music because you're in the car for most of the day. You'd have to drive to get everywhere.
Yeah.
Except that there was a part of my life where my dad didn't have a car, and because he got towed one day. And you can get around with public transport. There's a way. It's just they make it really difficult.
Yeah.
So it's like you have 5 minutes to get to, I don't know, point A, point B.
Yeah.
But yeah, you spend so much time listening to music because for the most part you're in the car all the time. And that's how I heard pretty much I think everything I'm influenced by.
All the stuff you're influenced by.
At least my first influences, because you're just driving all the time.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I guess that kind of like LA is so vast and sort of spread out.
Yeah.
It's like you take London, for example. And I remember actually talking to somebody about who lives in New York, and them saying that that New York became the 5th member of our band because of the, she really kind of felt that the impact of that kind of community was a kind of big deal. But I guess everybody's different in how they kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
To the physical environment as well.
Yeah. I also feel like something that kind of wore in a good way was, I remember as a kid, I'd walk to school and my parents would tell me to be aware of what's going on around you. And as growing up, like we went to high school in downtown Los Angeles, and I'd take the train and walked from the train.
Yeah.
And in being aware, there was so much crazy shit going on. Like I remember we had one song called Chicken Woman off our first record, and there was literally in the morning an older woman that would like kind of run up the street with a shopping cart full of chickens with cardboard boxes bungee taped on top of it to the house.
Yeah.
Morning routine, and there's like so much stuff that happens, and like next to everything there's so many different areas, different kinds of stuff, and it all feels like
it's such a melting pot too of cultures, which is why I love it. It's, it's just like every street, it's kind of a whole different vibe, or I don't know how to explain, but
yeah. I mean that kind of probably contributes to the kind of generally a sort of what we talked about earlier about kind of different influences coming into music, and I mean that's been going on for years, hasn't it? That but it feels like it's happening more. Maybe it's just because music is more accessible, but it feels like like we were saying, that people are less worried about, or musicians less worried about what sort of influences come into the records. Rather than being a kind of straight rock band or a kind of straight kind of punk band. There's just lots of other different stuff coming in now.
What is kind of cool is that when we first started, in every interview they'd ask us like, rock and roll's dead, do you feel like you're bringing rock and roll back? And now I feel like there's a lot of bands that are playing rock music.
Absolutely.
And, I feel like it's a lot better than, because for a second there a bunch of people were just playing like a bunch of shoegaze, and that's cool. Now I feel like it's broadened out to where there's a bunch of new music that's all totally different. It's been super cool.
I think that kind of what you're doing, for me at least, and what you're doing sort of specifically is, I mean, you're kind of like, it feels like you're kind of really being true to yourself about what you really love, and that's what really kind of, that's the sort of the soul that comes through. In the music, that it's kind of like in your heart, it's what you believe. And I'd say I don't know, you know better than me, but it feels like that you're what you started out with and what you're doing now, it's like your kind of gut instinct telling you what's right, because obviously this new album is different. There's some different influences sort of coming into it, but it's still got the soul of what Starcrawler is about, if that makes sense.
I mean, like, pretty much we've been a band now for like almost 7 years. We've gotten better, and just like you said about growing up and getting into different kinds of music, we've all listened to more music now, gotten better at playing music. So when we first started playing, like, we weren't good too, like we sucked for a long time. We played for like a year before we played our first show because we wanted to get good. And I feel like, like the Ramones weren't good at the beginning.
Absolutely.
And that's also, for a lot of kids now, I feel like it's really hard to not be good for a second, because so many kids on TikTok that are like 3 years old that are shredding. And it's like, he's doing that. Like, okay, I suck. Like, I can't be in a band. Like, no, you can. Like we were all bad, and then we just played every day after school. And
do you know?
I don't know. I mean,
there's good.
I also feel like, though, I don't know, there's something cool about kind of learning. I mean, we also started the band as teenagers, so it was a little different, but learning kind of as you progress as a band more. I mean, like, musicianship wise, but there's something like, it's like, why does everyone have to be a musical prodigy? Why does everyone have to, like most of the band, like punk bands and rock bands, like none of them are that good. I mean, like, but what makes them good is like all of them together and older. That's what I was saying about the Runaways. It's like half of them were not good musicians, I mean, straight up, and then the other half were, and that's kind of what makes it cool, It's like, I think it feels real. It's like, it's not like, which is cool too, like, but like math rock or anything like that is also dope, but it's like, I can't do that.
It's more just,
I'm never gonna be able to do
that. Yeah, just like an expression and a feeling more than like technicality. And then everybody, becomes like, after years, like a telepathy, like where what the other person's gonna do, you're not talking about it, and that's what we kind of fell into. So when we were writing this record, it just like flowed super well.
I mean, actually, I think Arrow, that word real, that's it. That real realness and that kind of like relatability. And I think that, you know, when you kind of start out, I mean, it's kind of like an inspiration. I mean, it's really sort of what punk was about, wasn't it? You know, kind of starting. You don't necessarily have to, if you have musicianship, okay, fine. But if you don't, then that's fine too. And it's kind of, and I think that really helps to sort of inspire people to sort of pick up instruments, or, you know, whether it's a guitar, whether it's sort of keyboards or programming or however. But it helps with that. If you come on like absolutely sort of perfect and sort of shredding it, the reaction is fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not even going to bother starting.
Yeah. That's a hard thing for people to get over.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I was for a long time. I always wanted to be able to sing and be a performer, but I was like, that's just not, I can't do that. It's just not, it's not it. Like, you know what I mean? Because especially with singing, you know, most or a lot of people start when they're little kids, whereas like I always liked to sing, but I wasn't good. And I'm still learning, like I still have a vocal coach and whatnot. But I just like one day was like, oh, I just want to do it. I just got to do it. And I just like took lessons. Still wasn't that good, but I mean, we were like a punk band at first. So it was like, it helped me kind of figure out my voice. And then from there on, got better at singing and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that, you know, if you really want it and really have that inspiration, you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just going to ask, you know, but it was that just pure desire to do it that kind of won out. Yeah,
because I knew, not to be like brash, but like I knew that I'd be a good performer. I was like, I just know good at it. I just don't know where to start, and I don't know how to sing. So I just took a second, you know, to kind of like practice singing. And then there was a period of time where my dad and a bunch of other dudes from like, you know, pretty well known like indie bands and stuff, they played cover band like for a couple nights, and it was mainly like rock songs and stuff, and I would do Cherry Bomb with them, and it would just be at a bar, a bunch of drunk people I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He would like sneak me in the back door and I would sing Cherry Bomb, and that kind of helped me. It was almost like practice,
like your confidence just to
practicing like performing before it actually mattered. If that makes sense.
Because I guess the other thing is that there's not much. You have to really look for those sort of opportunities, because the you know, almost like you know, people can kind of record stuff and they can almost like sort of destroy you before you've even started. You know, and so finding those kind of spaces where you can kind of do it safely, I think that's a great move.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was lucky. It wasn't really something that I planned, but I kind of like, my dad was like, "Oh, you should sing a song with us." And you know, there's like literally a bunch of wasted people who don't give a shit, so it doesn't matter. You know, if you fuck up.
I mean, talking about that, you know, about you know, your kind of dad or other important people in both your lives who've, you know, kind of supported and encouraged you.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of support. I mean, it sounds a dumb question, but the importance of having that to, you know, get you over those mental boundaries that you maybe struggle with.
Yeah, we were both in super lucky positions where, you know, we were surrounded by music our whole lives. Like a lot of times when people are not, and especially in like America and the Midwest, like it doesn't even sound like a plausible thing to be doing. It's just like for fun, and like you don't know that you're like, oh, those are like make believe.
Or not as many people probably that
you don't know people that are doing it, so it's like
or into the same music or you know. I mean, it's hard even in LA. You know, it was hard even in LA finding people that I've gelled with that were into the same stuff. So I could only imagine how it's like in other smaller towns.
Yeah. I mean, as you kind of like going through new album coming out, I mean, do you feel that you are risk takers?
I feel like
yes.
to a degree.
Yeah.
I feel like we're reasonable risk takers.
Yeah. There's no like dubstep song on the album.
I feel like we're more.
We've not got that yet. We'll save that for the next one, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah. She just spoiled that whole dubstep album. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, we're reasonable risk takers.
Yeah.
But the more we just didn't want to make something that we've made before, and we wanted to be something that was exciting to play live, that was challenging, and also felt
still us,
like us, you know.
Yeah. Because I mean, also you have your own kind of personal thing to, you know, if you carry on playing the same stuff, you know, you as individuals, you're not growing, you're not kind of like evolving yourselves, and you're going to get stale, and people know.
You get bored, and then everybody else gets bored too because you're bored. And so, you know, I think we all felt like it could be a bit more dynamic because we were like going really hard the whole time, and it's like when it's just that, there's no climax, you know, without like be some sort of movement. And so we wanted to create that mature sense of movement, but within ourselves. Also, we've grown as people. Like before the pandemic, we were both not even 21 yet, which in the States is like you're allowed to go to bars and drink and whatever.
Yeah.
But we, you know, we went from high school to being on tour, and then all of a sudden there was nothing, you know. We were constantly on tour. The most we ever had was like 2 weeks off. And so like all of a sudden COVID hit, and like trying to be an adult was crazy.
Yeah.
Did that kind of give you some, you know, from being on the road, did that give you some sort of headspace to, I don't know, kind of like assess what you've been doing and really kind of think about what you wanted your next steps to be?
The
break, yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk about that too much, but I'm just kind of thinking about you know, has it been some positive stuff from it?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it sort of just made us really appreciate being in like a shitty van in the middle of Belgium and being like, oh man, this is worse. And being like, I wish I was like trying to sleep in a shitty van somewhere. And like, because we've been together, like, you know, sleeping in the same beds in the car 24/7, and then all of a sudden, you know, we weren't together.
It's tough, right? Yeah.
We were all isolated, and that was a crazy feeling.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, okay, now we're writing songs through the window. Now we're on the front porch.
Yeah.
And then now we're like going and isolating at an Airbnb together. And it was like the steps of like coming back and then playing our first shows back really felt special, like being in the room with an audience again. It was like, this is why we do this. Yeah. Because we did a live stream, and doing a live stream to like cameras just didn't feel like, it was like, when you perform, it's like there's the energy in the room. It's like the same thing from like being a kid and watching those videos. Gosh. So it wasn't there. So now that we're all
felt so weird. Yeah.
Now that we're doing shows again, I just feel super lucky. And
definitely.
Yeah. When you sort of, you know, you're all together and you're, you know, writing new stuff or whatever, however you do it. I mean, how important is something like you know, kind of like empathy or you know, for what the other, if one of you disagrees with what the other thinks, you know, but about, I'm thinking, you know, how do you see it do you see it from the other person's point of view, or is it, do you, you know, get at each other's throats? You know, how do you kind of like manage where you got any kind of like differences that might come up?
We're all like a family and like siblings. So like most of the time it's very sympathetic and loving. Yeah. And like there's so much love there. But at the same time, because there's love there,
we're comfortable. Like
we're comfortable going at each other's throats.
Yeah.
We're never actually trying to hurt. You know, like there's never like gonna.
And it's always we come to a conclusion. We both are.
There's never been a point in this band where somebody hasn't been talking to another person.
Yeah.
In a lot of bands, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think it's, I think, you know, having that, that ability.
Yeah.
I think is just really, I mean, generally in kind of life, because life is generally so much more nuanced, and it's not this or that.
Yeah.
To have that skill set, I think, is just really important. What you're talking about.
Friends, like when we're home, like
we hang out.
We're hanging out. Like I'm every day. If I have nothing to do, first thing I do is like drive to Tim's house.
Yeah.
This player,
Yeah.
knock on his door. He wakes up, half naked. Then we go to Arrows. It's like just like it's our thing, and so it just feels natural. I wouldn't know if I didn't have this band. I really wouldn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But,
actually, sort of talking about, have you either of you got any kind of like sort of side hustles that you get involved in, either like artwork or kind of designing stuff? I mean, I know that you design your own merch and stuff, do you? Yeah.
Not all of it, but most.
Which is all kind of part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I used to make a lot more art. I haven't really felt, I do it for the band, like when I have okay, I'm going to make this for this. But to be honest, I haven't done it for just pure pleasure in a while, just because, I don't know, I just haven't felt
Doesn't feel right.
But, yeah, I mean, I make a lot of our, not all, but a lot of our posters and merch designs and stuff like that. And, I've made treatments for other people's videos before too, because Gilbert directs a lot of videos, and there was one time where he was like when we first started dating, he had a video for someone. He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't have someone to make this treatment. And I was like, well, I know Photoshop. I've never made one, but I could do it and see.
Do it.
I did it, and it's not like how most, I guess, treatments are made. But he likes it a lot. It's more of a collage. I don't know. I don't know how to explain, but I make them
No.
Yeah, and so now I make them for all of his videos pretty much. So
brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know. And any video you watch, there's a collage treatment that I've made for it pretty much of his.
I think it's great. I think it's great doing that, and putting thought into kind of your sort of visual stuff, whether it's your what you wear on stage, how you design your merch, your kind of record covers and things like that. Those sort of things are important. I really think there can be a proper, when it's really hard to kind of differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
I also think there's something cool about making something like a unit sort of thing, like unity. We're really super visual people, and for this record we really were focused on this pink theme.
Yeah.
People come to the show and they really feel that. So we painted all of our gear pink. And even every time we fly and do 5 days, we wrap the drums in pink vinyl. Which,
brilliant.
It's too much, but we do it because it really does make a difference when you come in and you look more than just a band throwing their shit on stage.
Yeah, it's a proper statement, isn't it?
A show.
Yeah, I feel it also brings people into your world too. You're stepping into. Yeah, I don't know, the Starcrawler
it's more of a
world
show.
For a night. Kind of how Jack White or the White Stripes would do it. You walk in and you're like, wow, I don't know how to explain, but
yeah, you kind of I know what you mean. It's you're going into a not an alternate reality, but just something a different dimension.
Yeah.
And letting part of that, and so every time that they come to a show, no matter what city it is, it's the same.
It's an escape from boring beige world.
From reality.
Yes. Fuck, I'm glad I'm not wearing beige today. Mind you, I am wearing black, but there you go.
I guess actually every building's grey now.
Yeah.
Well, it is. Yes. Yeah. There's. I mean, I'm just in South London, just sort of south of the river, and just sort of further up the road, which is Battersea Power Station, which is the famous one from the Pink Floyd album. That's wholly been regenerated, and oh my god.
No, I hate when they redo stuff.
Yeah.
In LA, they do that to everything. They're like, oh,
yeah,
this thing that's been here since Hollywood first started, like Charlie Chaplin went, oh, don't worry about it. Let's take her down, calm down. No,
I know. No, well, I mean, that's happened a lot in London, like in the Soho area, which is like, kind of really famous for, kind of like the Stones and Sex Pistols, Denmark Streets, yeah. Just all been sort of torn down, but it happens everywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's happening everywhere. It's just such a bummer. It's like, I do feel like though, I mean, I don't know, but it seems like for the most part out here, they do a good job with like at least the really old stuff, like protected and preserved. But like in LA, it's obviously not as old, and like in New York too, and other places in America, they don't care. It like doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like
no sympathy.
Yeah, they're like, oh, let's just remove all the history from this town that everyone comes here for, and like stuff that looks like
build expensive apartments.
I just wonder where all these fucking people are coming from. Yeah. Like, how are you going to fill those?
So yeah, it's like, please stop moving to LA. Sorry.
Brilliant. So anyway, so you got a few more dates in the UK, and then you've got your release stuff in. I'm still thinking about that. You got your release show in LA, haven't you?
Yeah, we're doing one in LA and then one in New York as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time out. It's been really great talking to you.
Thank you. It's been fun.
And well, hopefully I'll be able to, because I'm actually going away. I was hoping to come and see you in Liverpool, but we're kind of like all going away on Saturday morning, so we're going over to the US actually.
You can be in Norwich tomorrow. It's like an hour and a half, right?
It's only an hour and a half. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. All right. Okay. You've caught me out there. You've caught me out. I've no excuses. Damn.
It's a cool little town.
It is. Yeah.
It's cool.
You'll have a great time there. So anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Great. Thanks, guys. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the show, and I really hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll tune in for the next episode. In the meantime, it would be really awesome if you could rate and review the show, and also share it with any friends who you think might enjoy it.